Welcome back to Dr. Walls and Friends on SIH Global One. And as I told you, when we came back from commercial break, one of these seats will be filled, and it is filled by someone who you've met before, Ms. Valika Lawrence. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. Well, reintroduce yourself to the people. Tell the people a little bit about ProSafe, the Power of One.
Okay, so my name is Valika Lawrence, and I'm one of the co-founders of ProSafe, the Power of One. Basically, we seek to empower people within the family units to encourage them to be aware of every transition that every individual of the family unit goes through, so we can all provide support to each other as we progress through life.
And so as we started out talking, we were saying the importance of how our actions impact other people's actions and people see us. And, you know, we were talking about perception. And so many times we don't know how people perceive us and whether or not it's a match on how we see ourselves and how other people may see us. And so while we were, right before we went to commercial break, there was a little young person who saw our magistrate here who just went, because she saw you. And so you have the sash, you have the crown, and as we talked off camera, this was really not something, a path that you thought you were going to take, but yet you ended up on it recently.
Yes.
So tell the people a little about your journey.
I was at school, I was very much an athlete. I played volleyball, I did 100 and 200 meters, long jump. And in 2010, I got into pageantry, and ever since then, it's been a rough journey. But there have been dips and downs in my maturity and how much because I've developed such a moral responsibility to the young people who look up to me, especially my community. And it's only caused me to just remain positive and to just continue being a light to them.
Yes. And I'm so glad, and I want you ladies to pick up on this phrase that you used, a moral responsibility. You knew it was coming. Felicia said, I know her, I know where she's going. Moral responsibility. Who would like to take the lead on that one? Go ahead. Valika?
I would like to take the lead.
Yes. Go ahead.
Actually, it's so funny that that's been my topic today in my process group where I just came from at the Rainbow Bridge project in Dennery. And it's that idea of people's perceptions of ourselves, our own journey and exploration. So yes, there is the moral responsibility and what society thinks and feels about what we do and what we say and their perceptions, but then there's that natural occurring process inside of you of you're just a young woman finding out, going through the motions, and you won't always get it right. And how do you show accountability to that? What does that mean? How far must you show accountability to it? Is it going to affect who you become as a person, and how does it affect, and does it stop you from exploring who you really want to be just because you're afraid of how people think or feel? So there are a lot of questions that come up when you say moral responsibility. It can be a lot to take, it can be overwhelming, but ultimately there's a right and a responsibility attached to it, and you have to figure out what that means to you.
And you know, it's interesting when you say that, because there can be external moral responsibility. In psychology, we call that the superego and what society says you should be doing. We talked a little bit earlier about customs and, you know, their role in deciding certain things are morally obscene or indecent and so forth. We had the chance to talk with Lorraine Glass last night on Tell It Like It Is on Delia Demore's show, and that was her topic, where it was like, how does customs impact the moral, basically, responsibility or the moral values of the home. And so, but there's also that internal moral responsibility that you feel. And Valika, that's what I heard you starting, to really tap on.
Because there's the internal conflict. There's what you're feeling inside, passions, questions, spiritual, moral, and responsibility of what you grew up in the house with versus what you really feel you want out of your spirituality, and then of course out of your connection with society. Who do you see yourself as in this world that we're living in your community, in your environment, in your field of work, in your intimate relationships? who do you see yourself as? And before you can see yourself as something and label it, there is exploration involved in that. So in all of that time of exploration, people are constantly judging you and saying things about you. And a lot of the times that you see happening with youth, especially in my day, people would go, well, if everyone thinks I'm an idiot, I'm just going to be an idiot. If everyone thinks I'm this, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to give up. And you can see people's struggle, and I remember my struggles with, or lack thereof actually. Like, I didn't have struggles with the peer pressure. Those were one of the struggles I had. But I could see friends struggles with the peer pressure of, should I just fall to what people believe I am? The risk of being different. What does that mean? Right, wrong, different.
Yes.
How do I see myself with all of that? It's a lot to take.
Yes.
And adults don't know. You know, people say, by your age, you should do this and you should do that. And in my support groups, I throw out the word should.
Okay.
I go, this is what it is.
Yes.
Let's talk about what it is.
Yes.
Let's acknowledge our growth. And if we want to, let's share where we think we're going with it. And then we can all, those of us who felt that we've been there before, like, oh, I remember when I said that, when I did that, and that's not what I ended up doing. And things like that, you know, way to support without the judgment, but just with the truth and the support.
Exactly. We're going to take a quick break and come back with that moral responsibility, because I think that's a key point that a lot of people struggle with, as you talked about throughout development. And we see it obviously with young children. We definitely see it in the teenage group, but we also see it in the 20s and in the 30s and people in the 40s and 50s and so forth. So we think that this is something that people eventually can grow out of, but how do they do it? So let's take a quick commercial break and we'll come back with that topic. First and third Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. It's Dr. Walls and Friends. First and third Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. It's Dr. Walls and Friends. We are inspiring, encouraging, and motivating you to live your passion and purpose.